Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
You are about to listen to the Totally Super Awesome 80s Reboot Overdrive podcast.
This podcast is our fan tribute to the Incredible Hulk TV show. Be advised it has been exposed to radiation and we caution to listen at your own risk. You have now entered GammaCast.
And welcome to the GammaCast. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is...
80s Music Girl!
Yay! 80s Music
Yay!
Girl. The apotheosis of awesomeness. Okay, welcome, 80s Music Girl, to Season 4, Episode 3 of The Incredible Hulk, Freefall. Interestingly, that this is Season 4, Episode 3, as we all know, but as far as Amazon is concerned, which is where we're watching these now, it's Episode 1 of Season 4, and of course, Hulu doesn't even have it, so... Which is why, quite frankly, I'm actually going to be dropping Hulu because they don't have. I bought it for the Hulk, and some people in my family are watching stuff on Hulu. But quite frankly, on Netflix I've got all my Marvel shows. I've just bought this series on Amazon, so I can watch it now whenever I want. So there isn't a big push for me to keep Hulu until they start having Marvel shows on. But again, if I'm not reviewing that, if someone else takes over the Marvel shows on Hulu, not my problem. Okay. Tonight's first air date was November 21st, 1980. Oh, another Thanksgiving Day episode, which is good because it is a homecoming. David Blake is working for a skydiving team whose star reluctantly returns to his hometown where he has unfinished business with a local senator and his son. Directed by Reza Badia, written by Chris Bunch, Kenneth Johnson, and who's our extra person, and Alan Cole. Okay, this was certainly an episode in which the Hulk appeared. Is what I will say about this episode. Not badly acted. Some very good actors here. As always, you see guys who've been around. Sandy Ward, who was Senator Max Stewart, is a guy with an unexplained Southern accent in, I believe, Wyoming.
Who knew?
But Sandy Ward is one of those character actors you immediately recognize, though you're not sure from where.
Yeah.
But this is what really excited me. And the only thing that excited me about this episode, Jack Stewart, our young senatorial possibility, is played by Jared Martin. And Jared Martin actually was the star of one of my absolute favorite 80s TV series, late 80s, which was War of the Worlds. Oh,
I thought you were going to say One Life to Live.
No. War of the Worlds. Was he on One Life to Live as well?
Of course.
Yeah, he was on 3 episodes of The Love Boat, though. And, he's on 3 episodes of Murder, She Wrote. He's all over the place. But I loved War of the Worlds. He was the star. He was Harrison Blackwood, which was the scientist who's supposed to be the son of the scientist from the 50s movie War of the Worlds.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, and he was also Dusty Farlow on Dallas. Back in the 90s.
Yeah, he was on Airwolf too.
Yeah.
And Knight Rider. So he's been a Scarecrow and Mrs. King.
Oh yeah.
OMG.
Oh, look at that. He was David Gurney on Wonder Woman, which follows the Incredible Hulk on MeTV in 1979.
Oh, Heart to Heart.
Oh, Phantom of the Roller Coaster. I just saw that last week.
Oh my God.
Man. I'm gonna have to call that out to everyone when I'm live tweeting this episode in a bit.
There you go.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, this guy was all over the place, and War of the Worlds, for what it's worth, is a really fun take on a sci-fi show. A great way to look at how just a very nice variation on the theme of the 1950s War of the World movie and
Right.
how it might have played out in the future. But
I
this
can honestly
episode,
say I never saw it.
yes,
I don't know why, but I
it's
never
okay. But
did.
you know what? If you like weird alien-centric sci-fi, it's actually pretty good.
Right.
Because you find out that there's a whole culture of the Martians. You find out that actually they actually sort of invaded because they were worried because they were worried because we had unlocked atom bombs, and it's a very interesting thing how they played it out as time went on. They even had a weird unresolved plot line where they find out that there was another alien that was at war with the Martians, but that they were actually looking at humans as a potential food source. Of course.
Jeez.
It gets crazy, man. But anyway, but that's not this show. This show is The Incredible Hulk. And, coming off of the really powerful, great episodes of Prometheus's Part 1 and 2, this, and maybe you're going to disagree with me, but I felt this was just such a weirdly let down of an episode. What?
Let me check my notes on that, because I think I might have had something to say. Oh, yes. My last thought on it was quite a different feel to it.
Okay.
I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it had kind of a feel to it.
Yeah, because, and like I said, this is an episode in which the Hulk appears. The Hulk is so not important to the story, I think. And of course, and very much about this story is this idea of villains causing their own problems.
Mm-hmm.
In the idea
Just
that
with all the alcohol, I think.
Yeah, they're all worried that what's his name, Hank Lynch, who's the skydiver, is going to reveal to everyone that Jack Stewart didn't want to jump out of the plane when they. What's funny about it is that you actually get the whole story, and it's like that's really not that horrible of a story.
Well, when you find out 3 people died, it kind of is.
Well, yeah,
Spoiler alert.
3 people dying, but the idea that he didn't cause 3 people to die, he just hesitated on a jump, then he did jump, and then 3 people died. It's like, and it's an interesting take on survivor's guilt, because it does, in that sense, it's kind of interesting, although they don't really play much on it. It is an interesting idea that, something that, and this is true of a lot of people who do have survivor's guilt, is that it can be something that is very unrelated to whatever they did. They were not really the cause of this problem, but they are going to sit there and be worried and bothered and frightened by it. Well,
they're victimizing themselves.
Exactly. So, and that is very much what he is doing to himself here. But when we open it up, we have this fact that we have this skydiving team of Hank Lynch and Jean, played by the wonderful Kelly Harmon.
Yes, where is she from? She looks awfully familiar.
She does look awfully familiar, and like a lot of people, she's been around. She was in California Suite. She was in The Young and the Restless. Bay City Blues in 1983. She played Sonny Hayward. She was on T.J. Hooker. She was on Chips as Candy Wright. She was in Battlestar Galactica as a character named Sarah. 1979. Greetings from Earth. And you know where she's on? She is right now, or in 2010, she was on Top Chef Masters as a customer.
Oh my!
Yes. So yes, she was also the voice of Kimmy in Jonathan Livingston Seagull in 1973. But yeah, so she's been around like a lot of blonde 80s character actresses. She got work, and what is weird here, like I say, so he arrives in town, and you get this thing that he's like, I don't want to do this show, and they're like, but the promoter will only pay us if we do all the shows. It's like, okay, so he went back to town, and he's doing this, and as it turns out, there's this big senatorial race going on. Well, a state senatorial race, because were they saying that his dad was going on to be a federal senator, or that his dad was just retiring?
I don't remember them saying either of those.
Yeah. Well, I know that
But I'm sure
he's
he
running for his
did.
dad's old seat. I know that.
Right.
His whiz bang campaign line is "You voted for his dad, so vote for him."
Yeah, Mac
Which
and
is
Jack.
like, okay, I guess that's something to do.
That's actually a local brewery here in Redmond, by the way, Mac and Jack.
Oh,
I had
Mac and Jack.
to mention that with a laugh because I was like, seriously?
Well, there you go. Well, maybe
like
that's
a
where
mix.
they got the name from.
That's entirely
They
possible.
were just watching an old episode of The Incredible Hulk and said, Mac and Jack, that's a good name for our beer. Yeah,
Oh my
and
goodness.
here's what I'll say is like the actual story is kind of interesting as a little bit of
Yeah.
soap opera. You know, there's this
Yeah.
political intrigue. This is the Incredible Hulk universe, so of course the first thing we ask is, have we tried killing him yet? Even when he says, "Look, I don't want to do anything. I just want to jump and get paid and leave town. I don't want your money.
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything. I'm not going to tell anyone.
Yeah.
I haven't told anyone yet. This
Yeah.
isn't anything that I want to be involved in. I just want to go about my business." But
Exactly. But
Senator
they're not
Matt
going to let him
Stewart,
do that.
he is paranoid.
Of course. He's done a lot of shady things in his time, I think.
Well, yeah, and that seems to be the thing. They're worried that if the woman gets elected,
Yeah.
that she's going to get a special prosecutor and special prosecute his butt. And not for nothing, of course, this is the 80s. Watergate is still very fresh in everyone's mind. And again, you have this idea of someone whose paranoia leads them to take actions that wind up being their own undoing.
Absolutely. It's just, you can only imagine they've been in that area for so long, and, Daddy's little boy is his pride and joy, so to speak.
Yeah.
And there's no ends that he'll go to, to make sure that his son is successful or himself. So he's pretty much got most of the town in his back pocket. You could see by the police officers that were pretty
happy to murder for you.
Yes, unscrupulous. I'm not even going to scratch him, but I'll shoot his parachute off of him. But
yeah.
I'm not going to personally hit him with any bullets.
Yeah, that was
that's going to work.
That was crazy.
That was very crazy. You might as well just shot the poor guy.
Although not as crazy as the fact that I think they had the same actor playing the pilot in the flashback.
I took that into account. Is it just me, or did the pilot 7 years before look exactly like their pilot now, except with a blonde wig?
Yes, I love the blonde
wig. And not a very good placed blonde wig either, because you could still see the red hair underneath it.
Yeah, I personally, I just love that fact because it was just at first thinking, oh, okay, so they've all known each other well. And then that plane crashed. It's like, really?
Yeah.
And but yeah, that was budgetary concerns, I'm sure. And just the fact that these guys are supposed to be very young, and again, it's very clearly the two same adult actors playing them in their flashback.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, that was only 7 years ago? I thought these guys were in high school.
Yeah. Well,
they've lived a very hard life and have aged horribly. Just saying.
Well, it's the stress of being skydivers, I guess.
Yeah.
The moral of the story is don't jump out of planes. It ages you.
Yeah, make you look 15 years older than what you are.
Yes. And I did like the fact that David doesn't want to jump out of the plane, which of course means at some point he will be jumping out of the plane.
Yes, exactly. I like the fact that the troubled past wasn't about David.
Yeah. I like.
Yeah, but he could have totally not even been in this episode, and it would have been fine.
Yes.
I'm sure that's the reason that Jack Colvin wasn't in it. It's well, this has nothing to do with me. I could care less, so I won't be in this episode.
But more to the point, it kind of makes the whole episode seem weirdly forced because. At least as far as David's arc, because David's there, and yes, he does become the Hulk twice, once he saves the plane, but damages it horribly.
Yes.
Because the Hulk doesn't know his own
Wow.
strength, and this
I
is
was
the
just
first time
saying.
they try to murder the poor guy. Um, and then the second time, the second time they try to murder the guy and they accidentally murder David, or try to murder David, because David falls out of the plane, and then Jack has to be a hero again. This time he jumps from the plane because no, they put a bomb in the plane
Yes.
to cause engine trouble so that the plane will crash.
Yeah.
Again, so circuitous in this plan, and it's so unnecessary.
Exactly.
It is just such manufactured drama.
Mm-hmm.
But again, this is the Hulk universe, and of course, this murdering people is a very standard business practice. So it's hard to say this is poorly thought out, because apparently that is how everyone around here solves their problems. So Jack has to jump from the plane. He puts the parachute on David because he fell out of the plane when the plane like jostled, and
Mm-hmm.
Hank is going to land the plane
Yeah.
because Turner got knocked out. So I
Right.
think that was Turner. So Hank has to land the plane, and Jack has to jump out, save David, and he does. So David's
Mm-hmm.
slowly falling down. Didn't Hulk out then, though, but because
No.
you thought he might have, and you were waiting for that. But again, it's too public. He is Hulk shy, and
Yeah.
But then the cop decides to, because he's a sharpshooter. We see him shooting tiny
Mm-hmm.
airline liquor bottles off of a fence. Waste of good liquor, if you ask me.
Totally. Yeah. Wasting perfectly good booze. I just could not abide by that.
Yeah, that was
That's just horrible.
It's like, aren't there other little things you could put there? And not for nothing, if they had
I
been
know.
empty, it's a harder shot.
Whatever happened to soup cans and beer cans and things like that? Oh, well.
Anyway, but he does shoot out the parachute. David falls, and
Mm-hmm.
then of course that causes his Hulk out, because we're waiting for. I kind of wanted a free falling Hulk. I wanted a Hulk in a parachute. We didn't get that.
I did too. I did
But
too.
we get him ripping out of his jumpsuit, and then
Yes.
running after the bad cops and smashing stuff. And everyone survives. No real evidence as to if they actually got paid for any of this or what exactly happened, but Jack takes his name out of consideration for running for the office of senator, and so the woman basically wins by default, and she's going to investigate her dad. So Max Stewart is probably going to go to jail or something, or maybe
One can
not,
only.
because maybe it's all unscrupulous but not illegal,
Perhaps.
except for the trying to
things are a lot
murder people
different
part.
back then. Yeah, I think I don't think he's going to be able to get away with that one.
But then I think this is the
unless-
weirdest part about this, is that after it's all said and done, David just leaves.
Yeah. Want to ride to the bus station? Absolutely. Get me out of here.
Yeah, but what's weird about that is, why? Why does he have to leave when, first off, there really hasn't been any major Hulk sighting?
The cock is going to hit the fan. That's why, and he doesn't want anybody asking him any questions.
Yeah, but the fact of the matter is that, first off, it seemed like he had a really sweet gig. It's one of these things where he had a sweet gig, and then he just sort of leaves it without really much explanation,
No, he has to so he could be in the next episode.
Well, yeah. I mean, I follow to that, yes.
For lack of a better explanation, let's just go with that.
Yeah. But but the Hulk was completely superfluous to this. This was very much Hank Lynch's and Jack Stewart's story, almost to the point where you almost kind of wonder if this was meant to be maybe another one of these backdoor pilots. Maybe they were thinking, what if we did a show about skydivers? Kids like skydiving. It's the 80s. People are skydiving. And then you would have had, Jack, or, well, maybe not. Well, maybe Jack, but you'd have Hank and Gene and and Turner, traveling the country solving crimes as they jump out of airplanes.
Oh no, thank you.
Yes. Hey, there have been longer running series with slimmer premises than that.
Worse subject matter.
Let us not forget there was a series called The Fall Guy that ran for a very long time in the 80s about stuntmen who solved crimes.
Honestly, they had to use him for something. Come on.
Yeah.
Lee Majors, for God's sake.
Well, I love The Fall Guy, man. That was one of my favorite shows as a kid,
It's like, TV. It was almost like a Roadhouse, but for TV.
It was great, man. I don't know why that hasn't been rebooted yet. When everyone's rebooting things, it's like that was a really great series.
I don't know. They should have.
It had a very believable premise. The idea of he's a bounty hunter. Because he has to make ends meet because stunt manning doesn't pay as much as you'd like.
Maybe it was kind of like a Peter Jackson thing. I'll get around to making a Hobbit, but I want to make King Kong before that.
Yeah.
Like really, that has relevance to Lord of the Rings. Sure, go for it.
Yeah. Well,
I'll just hate you until I see the Hobbit 10 years later.
Yeah.
Ugh. I was so mad about that. Anyway.
Yeah. But anyway,
they should have made the Hobbit first. But anyway.
Honestly, I watched. I sat through the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and I said, "Fool me 3 times." Shame on me.
Shame on us all.
It just. I will never understand. I understand the allure of the books, and the movies were great. It just they went on forever, and they just had no naturalistic ending. And it's like I always remember watching the first one, and I was like, so basically they just decided to end the movie because it's like, well, we've been here for 2 hours. Let's all go home. We'll meet back here in another year, and we'll do 2 more hours of this, And then you got to the final one, and then they just didn't end it. It's like, yes, the ring is in Mount Doom. The villain has been vanquished, yes. Now let's go on for another half hour just hanging out.
Yeah. We got there's a cool down period here, so.
Yeah, it was just like.
I'm going to shake it off and have a fruit juice or whatever they called Elven. Is it mead or what do they drink?
Yeah, well, I got that there was some aspect of it where they were sort of talking about, the idea that, when people come home from war, they never really come home. And then you have to have the elves leaving for Elsinore or wherever. And so I can get some of those things, but I just felt it was just so long. It felt like that whole second half of that film could have just been like, 5 minutes, and they could have said, well, we're off to Elsinore, and yeah, you never can go home again, can you? And nope, that's it.
Yeah.
Gandalf is now the White Wizard, so. But hey, it won an Oscar, so what do I know?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Who are we to say?
Yeah, but really someone should reboot The Fall Guy, either as a movie or as a new series. In fact, I think if you rebooted that as a modern day series, you could do so much with special effects, and you could do some really cool things with that. You could do a lot with wire fighting, and
I'm just trying to think who you would cast. And they would have to be TV relevant. They couldn't be, I'd say, Matthew LeBlanc, but he's doing C with the that car show that he's doing.
Yeah, he has 2 shows on. He's in Man with a Plan with Kevin Nealon.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So it'd have to be someone about 35, 40-ish in fairly good shape.
Yeah.
That is prevalent on TV.
Yeah, I was
and
thinking
could get away with
Hasselhoff might be good for it, but he might be too old.
Oh, honey, he's like 100. No.
But they love him in Germany.
They have to pay him his weight in alcohol anyway. So.
Yes, well, see, who would be, who would be good? Vin Diesel.
Vin Diesel?
Vin Diesel in the
a movie version of the Fall Guy, perhaps, but you can't pay him TV.
He'll do TV. Vin Diesel.
When's Vin Diesel done TV? You know who would do it, and he wouldn't care.
What?
Is Dwayne Johnson.
Oh yeah, Dwayne Johnson. Well,
Dwayne
but
Johnson
see,
would
I think
kick
Dwayne
ass.
Johnson and Vin Diesel both will do just about anything. I actually think they both
No,
really
seen
do.
Vin Diesel
They-
before.
Oh, you know who they could get? And he actually Brendan Fraser.
There you go.
And Brendan Fraser, his star's kind of on the wane. He could really use something to reboot it. And you know what? That would be a great Netflix series.
Yes. Oh, exactly.
He could do the
He would
action
be
and the
perfect.
comedy, and Brendan Fraser
He's
is
a
the fall
sidekick.
guy.
The Major had a sidekick.
There you go.
Who was that hunky guy that was his sidekick? I can't
Oh,
remember.
on the fall guy? Oh, what was his name? I forget his name. He was the cute one. While I'm on
Yes.
IMDb,
Yeah.
let's go
He-
the
he-
fall guy.
You have to have somebody younger. Yeah, we'd have to have somebody younger. Maybe Zac Efron or somebody like that.
Oh, that would be good. There we go. Let's see
There
here.
you go.
And
Problem
the cute
solved.
one was Douglas Barr. Douglas Barr.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have no idea what
Yeah.
Douglas Barr was in. He played Howie Munson.
I don't know.
Yes. And,
Howie Munson.
Yeah,
There you go.
there we go.
Maybe it could be a woman.
It could be a woman. Why not? Honestly, there's all
Jazz
sorts.
it up a bit. Maybe it could be a
Yeah.
woman. There you go.
He was Bill Stillfield on Designing Women. And that's what he was on. He was also on The Wizard, one of my other favorite shows from the 80s. He was Alex Jagger. He was the CIA agent attached with what's his name? The dwarf genius who made toys. What was his name? David Rappaport.
Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
he ran for one season. Then David Rappaport sadly killed himself. But it was a very, very good series. Another one that could do a great reboot for Peter Dinklage, or actually, it'd be great for Peter Dinklage. But actually, I was going to say, who is it in Life's Too Short? He'd be good in it too. I'm blanking on his name. I follow him on Facebook, and I can't remember his name now.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of other things
Yeah.
that weren't.
This just goes to show you how exciting this episode was, folks.
Yeah, it was not the best episode of The Incredible Hulk. This plays very fast and loose with the phrase "incredible." This was the acceptable Hulk. This was
the non-incredible Hulk.
Yeah, this was the okay. This was the pretty
Yeah.
okay Hulk. This was
A pretty okay Hulk.
This was the good enough for for a TV show
This
you don't have to pay
episode.
for. Hulk, which you didn't have to back in the day. Now you got to pay.
Which, ironically enough, later on, if you watch it 30 years later, you kind of do have to.
Yeah. So, but wasn't horrible per se. It just really you didn't know it was. You didn't know why the Hulk was there. You didn't know why anyone was there, except for the fact that it was basically like the Hulk wound up on someone else's show for an episode. Like David's like, wait, aren't I the star of this show?
Wait a minute, I thought this was the Incredible Hulk. What happened here?
Yeah, now it's some weird skydiving political drama. So anyway,
There you go. The
yeah.
Mac and Jack.
But and for what it's worth, the senator's son did save a bunch of Boy Scouts, carried them out on his back, raging fire.
Mm-hmm.
And hey, once again, forest fires.
Mm-hmm.
They love forest
Yes,
fires on
those
the Incredible Hulk.
forest fires, I'm telling you.
Yeah, well, so basically, themes in the Incredible Hulk include forest fires
Mm-hmm.
and murdering people for fun and profit. So
Yes.
there we go.
I
Any
noticed
final
there was a lot of
thoughts
beer drinking in this episode.
I'm sorry,
I
what?
was just going to say. My final just segues nicely into my final thoughts on this episode. I was talking about the beer drinking.
Oh yes.
It just, I don't have nothing. I'm not a teetotaler by any stretch of the imagination, but you just jumped out of a plane. Here's a beer.
Yeah.
It's like, wouldn't you rather they have water or something to replenish their electrolytes? So,
Okay.
beer it is. Okay.
This is
Hey, it's
19
lunchtime.
Yeah, this is 1980. They didn't have electrolytes in the 1980s.
Apparently not. Which proves when I go to lunch, Here's another beer. Let's like a whole pitcher of beers and
Oh, yeah.
just drink yourself silly. Where's the food at?
That was a nice big picture too. I was jealous.
Yeah.
That was looked like some nice beer. It was very golden.
Yeah, it had a nice head on it too.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, well, obviously somebody's funding your
that
your
wasn't
endeavors.
Budweiser. That's all I'm saying. That was
Oh,
probably
God,
some
no.
nice little local MIDI brew. It's probably Esser's Best or something.
There you go.
Yes.
One of my favorite quotes in the movie, and it's probably one of the only quotes, actually, when speaking about the senator, he's so crooked he screws his socks on.
Yes, I like that. That was nice.
That was good.
That was very good. Yes. Okay. So 80s Music Girl, if people would like to find you, how can they do so?
I am on the internet, or just in general.
In general. Would you like to give us your home address? We'll come over. We'll bring beer.
Get on the freeway and head north. No. I am 80s Music Girl on Twitter, and 80s Music Girl on Facebook, and 80s Music Girl on Instagram.
Okay. And, of course, you can always write to me in that classic 80s email way at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And, of course, follow me on the Twitters as I live tweet The Incredible Hulk, 7 o'clock on Saturdays on MeTV. That's Eastern Time.
Is somebody calling you right now?
Yeah, they're calling me. Everyone's all excited. Where was I?
You're live tweeting MeTV.
I'm sorry. Live tweeting MeTV. At Charlie Esser, that's CharlieEssesser. Look for the two E's right there in the middle for quality. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for hulking out with us. Please hulk out with us again.
We hope you've enjoyed this show. This podcast is part of the 80s Reboot Overdrive channel on Southgate Media Group. You can follow us on Facebook on the 80s Reboot group page. We're also on Twitter and Tumblr at 80s Reboot. We invite you to check out all the wonderful podcasts and blogs available at southgatemediagroup.com. And thank you for reliving the 80s.